guys, today I'm going to be sharing my philodendron houseplant care tips and tricks, and then I'll also be showing you my entire philodendron collection. Philodendron are some of my favorite plants to keep indoor. Not only are there so many unique and beautiful varieties, but they are also, for the most part, very easy to care for, and their care requirements are easy to manage indoors. As always, please let me know what you think of this video in the comments section down below, as well as any additional care tips and tricks that you would like to share with the rest of us. It is very much appreciated. So anyway, let's just get into it. Philodendron plants do prefer bright but indirect light. This means that finding a place near a window where the plant isn't going to receive any direct sun rays through that window is pretty important. That's not to say these plants don't do well in low to medium bright indirect light. I've had great luck keeping my plants next to east and west facing windows. On my west facing window back here actually, I do have a very white sheer curtain to help diffuse any direct sun rays from hitting my plants. So I do keep my plants right next to that window, and they've done really well. I also keep some of my philodendron plants facing a southern window, but I just keep them pulled 8 to 10 feet back from that window so it's not getting anything too direct. A sign that your philodendron is receiving too much direct sun exposure is that multiple leaves turn yellow or lighten in color all at once. It is normal for older leaves to change color a little bit every now and again, but if multiple leaves are doing it at once, then that means you may want to try and move your plant back and see how it fares that way. On the flip side, if your plant isn't getting enough sunlight, it'll begin to grow in leggy. The new growth will be discolored, or it'll be smaller than what's normal for the new growth on your plant. So if you notice anything like that, just adjust accordingly. It is honestly all trial and error, really. It kind of depends on your space. A lot of different factors play into the amount of water your plant will need, such as temperature, humidity, how much light it gets in a day, the soil mixture you use, so many different things. But generally, the plant will prefer to be watered once the first 2 to 3 inches of soil is dry. So just stick your finger in there, and if it's dry all the way down, then that may mean that it needs some water. I find myself watering my philodendron plants every 7 to 10-ish days, kind of depending. A sign of over or under watering is curled or drooping leaves. So if you start to notice that the edges of your philodendron plant's leaves are starting to kind of curl a little bit, or they're really drooping, if they're looking kind of sad, then go ahead and fill the soil. If the soil is moist and your plant looks sad, then that means your plant is being overwatered. And if the plant is drooping or curling and the soil feels dry, then that means it's being underwatered. So just adjust how much you're watering it accordingly. One of the great things about this plant for especially we beginners is if you do over or underwater the plant, it does bounce back really quickly. So not all is lost if you notice these signs on your plant. I'm going to include fertilizing in like the water category because I do use a liquid fertilizer. So I fertilize it as I water it, and the brand I use is Espoma. I use the balanced all-purpose fertilizer, and what I'll do is during the warm growing months, I'll fertilize my plant according to the ratio on the back of the bottle about once a month. I just kind of pay attention to my plant's growth and see how it's doing. If I notice it's slowing up in growth, I'll feed it a little bit more. And then during the cold months, I will fertilize it probably every 1.5 to 2 months-ish. Again, just kind of gauging the way my plant's growing. But that system seems to be working pretty well for me. Like I said, these plants are fairly forgiving. If you make a mistake here and there, don't worry too much about it. They're going to be just fine. Philodendron plants do prefer an airy soil mixture that's rich in organic materials. I've had great luck using black gold all-purpose potting soil mixed with some orchid bark, perlite or pumice, and then also peat moss. It gives it a really airy feel, but it also can hold a little bit of moisture. Philodendrons love that. I'll have everything I use in my soil mixture linked in the description box if you're interested in trying these products out for yourself. One of the great things about keeping philodendron houseplants indoors is they aren't too needy as far as temperature and humidity goes. The one thing I will note is that they don't do well in temperatures under 55 degrees Fahrenheit. If your house happens to be 55 degrees or lower for like a day, the plant will probably be fine. But if you're keeping it in this temperature long term, you will start to notice stunted growth or discoloration. The plant just won't be as happy because they definitely do prefer like 60 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Can go a little bit lower on a short-term basis. Philodendron plants do love humidity and they prefer humidity, but I live in one of the lowest humidity states, but my philodendron plants have done well. The one thing you will notice with more humidity is the plant will grow a little bit more quickly. If it's in lower humidity, it won't grow as quickly, but it can still survive and actually do really, really well. Philodendron plants are really easy to propagate, so I prefer taking cuttings and rooting them in water. Of course, that's pretty much how I like to propagate most of my plants. What you'll do is just take a cutting below a node or below an aerial root, pop that little baby in water, and it'll grow some roots pretty quickly. Again, if it has higher humidity, it'll grow roots and grow new foliage a lot more quickly, but if not, it'll still happen relatively quickly. Once you've noticed some adequate root growth, I just kind of like to wait for it to be at least a few inches long or until the root system looks proportionate to the plant, just kind of eyeballing it. Again, nothing scientific. I am not a scientific person. I'm sure you've all realized by now. I'll go ahead and pot that up in soil and it takes right off. As your plant matures, it may also start to pop out some little plantlet babies. You can separate those from the mother plant if you want to, or let them grow with the mother plant. So it's just kind of up to what you want your plant to look like. Philodendron leaves and stems are considered toxic to both humans and pets. If ingested, it is highly irritating to the mouth, throat, and gastrointestinal. Why can't I talk? Gastrointestinal tract. So be careful about that. If you notice that a child or pet has consumed some of this, you will notice drooling, vomiting, a decrease in appetite, swelling, blisters, a whole bunch of different things. If you suspect someone in your household has eaten some of it, then definitely contact the Poison Control Center right away or take them to a hospital or veterinary clinic. That is all I have for the general care of philodendron plants. Like I said, it does kind of vary plant to plant, so just depending on the variety you have, you may need to tweak the care a little bit, but just kind of take it as you go. The plant should be fine. You totally got this. Now I thought I would show you all the philodendron plants I have in my collection, so let's just get into that. First up, we have a philodendron lickety-split, which is such a beautiful philodendron plant. The leaves just have this really cool texture to them. All the leaves grow in split, of course, hence the name, and then also kind of ruffled on the edges. And the more it matures, the more the splits kind of grow inward. So it gives it a really, really cool texture of the plant. Very easy to grow, and it's done really well. Next up, we have Philodendron urubescens red emerald. This plant is absolutely stunning. I highly, highly recommend it. What I love about this plant is the leaves grow really large and long. What's extra beautiful about this plant is the foliage comes in super beautifully deep green, and behind all that foliage you can catch a little glimpse of the ruby red stems. The Philodendron urubescens green emerald, which is basically the same plant except the stems grow in green. It's really easy to care for once again and propagates like a dream. Next up is a Philodendron brantianum, which is more of an uncommon variety, although it's becoming more and more common, it seems like. I'm seeing it pop up here and there more frequently lately. It was on my wish list for so long and I finally got one. What I really love about this one is the color is so unique. It's more of a foresty sagey green / gray, and all the leaves have this kind of pixely looking design on them. I don't know, it's a really, really cool plant and unlike anything else I have in my collection. So if you can get your hands on one of these, I definitely recommend it. Philodendron cordatum neon, or a heartleaf philodendron. It is so vibrant in real life and it really stands out against anything else in my collection. The leaves as they grow form like a sheet. They just hang so perfectly down. It's just a really beautiful plant, and this one is really easy to care for. It grows super, super quickly. So this sad little plant here is my painted lady philodendron. Got it, it was just mush and I could only salvage one leaf. I did everything I could. Kind of has some mottled light to dark green on it, and I kind of like how quirky it is with the one leaf. Next up is my Philodendron hastatum. This one is also commonly referred to as the silver sword philodendron. This one is a little bit more finicky than other philodendron types I have noticed, and this one is again more uncommon than most of the plants I'm talking about in this video. This one is really cool if you're able to get your hands on it, so I definitely recommend it. Philodendron micans, or velvet leaf philodendron. This one is such a beauty. As the name implies, the leaves come in looking so velvety and smooth and soft. It's a really quick grower, and I definitely really love this one. This next plant you're seeing is a Philodendron pedatum. This is a really weird plant that I have in my collection because when I initially got it, I kind of thought it was a Philodendron bipenifolium because some of the leaves are shaped like a bipenifolium. Like half of the leaves are shaped that way, but who the heck knows what's going on with this plant. This one is really cool. Again, I love the leaf shape. It has a really cool texture as they grow in. And this is one of my fastest growing philodendrons. When I got it, it maybe had 4 leaves, and as you can see on the screen now, it has grown really quickly, so highly recommend. Here is my philodendron burl marks. This was actually a recent gift from my mom, probably about a month ago. It's really easy to care for. The leaf shape is just incredibly beautiful, and I'm so excited for this plant to get bigger. It's honestly one of my favorites in my entire philodendron collection. This is my Philodendron Brazil. This is a more common type of philodendron. The coloration on this is beautiful, from the green to the yellow to the red. It's just so beautiful. It grows really quickly. Last up is my Pink Princess philodendron, which was my #1 wishlist plant for so long, and my mom ended up getting me this one for Christmas. I love it a lot. It just opened up a new leaf. I currently have it in water because I don't know why. It just kind of struggled in the beginning, but I'm just going to let it acclimate a little bit in the water. I don't know if that's the right thing to do. That's what I've been doing, but I've really enjoyed keeping this one. And when the new leaf popped out, it was like a highlight of my life. Not to be dramatic or anything, but yeah, this one is beautiful, almost impossible to find. Those are all of the philodendrons I have in my collection currently. I'm definitely on the hunt for more because, like I said, they're just so easy and beautiful, and you can't really go wrong with them. So if I see a new variety, I instantly want to snatch that right up. I would love to see your philodendron collection to get some inspiration. So if you end up posting a photo on Instagram, please tag me at, here's my handle, please tag me at Harley_G_. I would absolutely love to see your philodendron babies. Yes. Anyway, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one.